Hello and welcome to another video in this series about effects for the 5th edition rule set for Fantasy Grounds Unity. This is an update to a previous series that I made for Fantasy Grounds Classic. And in this video we're going to look at two special tags, the IF and the IFT tags. And essentially what these tags do is that they test for a condition or they test for something, and whether if that something is true, then something else will happen. If we have a look at the wiki, we can see the two tags here, and there's is just if and IFT, and it tells you there that they will test for a condition or a conditional operator. And if that condition or conditional operator is true, then something will happen. If we scroll down a little bit, we can see a list of the conditional operators here. We can test for alignment, size, creature type, wounded and bloodied. We can also use custom, but we'll cover that in a separate video. And in addition to these conditional operators, we can also test for conditions. And if we scroll up to the top here, we get a list of the conditions, which is effectively the same as that to be found in Appendix A in the Player's Handbook. And these conditions are built into the 5th edition rule set. So let's have a look first of all at the if tag. We need a character, so let's get hold of Bob here. And we've already set up a power group for Bob in which we can add in our effects. And as usual, we're going to right click over that line, add action, add effect, and then open up the dialog by clicking on the magnifying glass, and we're ready to create our effect. So we're looking at if, so it's if, and then we need to end that with a colon as usual. And then we need to tell Fantasy Grounds what it is that we are looking for here. So let's look at a condition and let's see whether or not Bob is intoxicated. So we type in our condition that we want to test for, and we have spelt it correctly, so we better get that sorted. And then at the end of it, we put in a semicolon. And this is telling Fantasy Grounds that this is the first part. This is what we want to test. This is the test. And after the colon, this is what happens if the test is true. So if Bob had been to the pub and maybe had a few pints, maybe his wisdom isn't at his best. So let's give him some disadvantage to his saving throws. So we're going to put in this save, which we've seen in a previous video, and then we must end that with a colon again. And then we are going to type in wisdom as the ability that we're going to give him disadvantage on. We're going to set the targeting in this case to self, although it doesn't matter too much in this case, but we are going to set it to self because it's Bob we want to test this on. So we can close that off and let's get the combat tracker up. And as we've said before, effects won't have any effect or won't work if the actor on which the effect is sitting isn't on the combat tracker. So Bob has to be on the combat tracker for the effect to work. So we can apply the effect, and now it's gone on to Bob. And basically in English, which this is saying is that if Bob is intoxicated, then give him disadvantage on wisdom saving throws. And if he's not intoxicated, then nothing happens. So we can see that if we go and Bob can make a wisdom saving throw now, he just makes a normal wisdom saving throw. Nothing has happened because he doesn't have the intoxicated condition on him. But if we go to our effects now and give him the intoxicated condition and apply that, and then make a wisdom saving throw, we see that he makes it with disadvantage. So the first part of our test here, if intoxicated, has returned true, and because that's true, then we proceed to the next part of the effect and give Bob disadvantage on wisdom saving throws. So an important thing to note here is that if is testing the person on which this, or the actor in which this effect is sitting. If we were to apply this effect by dragging and dropping it, if we apply this effect by dragging it onto the ogre here, And then if we go into our effects here and apply the intoxicated effect onto the ogre, then the ogre too would start to make his saving throws or wisdom saving throws with disadvantage if we do that from here. So the effect, the if part, is testing to see if the person on which the effect is residing has the condition or the conditional operator. If we wanted to test a target of the person on whom the effect is sitting, then we need to use the IFT special tag. So let's have a look at that one. We'll just do a little bit of cleanup first and get rid of all these tags. And we'll get back to Bob here and we'll just remove this one and we'll start a new one. And we'll get the dialog up again. So we mentioned conditional operators, so let's have a look at one of those. So we're going to look now at the target, Bob's target. So we need if t, so if the target has the conditional operator on it. And let's look at alignment. So we need our keyword, which is align, and then we need to open brackets, and we need to add in here the alignment that we are testing for. So let's suppose that we're looking for an evil alignment, and this is our test, so we must end the test then with the semicolon. And then we're going to tell Fantasy Grounds what happens if Bob's target is of evil alignment. So let's suppose that if the target is evil, then Bob can do some radiant damage to that creature. Now the targeting here, we have to have the targeting as self because we need this effect to be sitting on Bob, because what we are testing for is we're testing Bob's target. And therefore the effect itself must be sitting on Bob and not on his target itself. So we can close that and we can apply this effect. And if Bob now, let's say, damages the Bone Devil here, for example, you can see that he's getting an extra dice. He's doing some more radiant damage to the Bone Devil, and this is because the Bone Devil has an evil alignment. If we were to damage the adult black dragon here, it also is of evil alignment. We see chaotic evil here. But if we damage the silver dragon here, then no extra damage is rolled because the silver dragon is a good alignment. And if we were to damage the ogre here, we also get the extra dice because, of course, ogres are also evil. Now the alignment that you can test for here, you can pretty much test for everything apart from true neutral. So we could actually be quite specific here if we wanted to. Instead of evil, we could, for example, test for chaotic evil, and we don't need to type it all out. We can just put in like CE, which would be chaotic evil. And so now we are testing for a very specific alignment. We're not just testing for good or evil or chaotic or whatever. We are searching for a very specific alignment. So let's get rid of this one and apply the effect. And let's do some more damage to the Bone Devil. And as you can see, we didn't do any extra damage, and this is because the Bone Devil is lawful evil. So therefore, it doesn't. This statement here, align chaotic evil, is not true. However, if we damage our black dragon here, then we do get extra dice because the black dragon is chaotic evil. And similarly, if we try to apply damage to either of these other two, it would fail, because the dragon is good, so it's not evil at all. And in the case of the ogre, it's also chaotic evil, so we would have damaged it as well. But you can see the point, the alignment here can be quite specific, or it can be quite general. So let's have a look at the size conditional operator now. We can actually just leave that one in. We'll just add another line to here. Again, we want if target, and we're going to look for the creature type here. So it's TYPE. And then we need to open brackets and we need to add in the types that we're going to look for. We can have a number of types here, all lowercase separated by a comma, but we'll just look for giant at the moment. So we'll type in giant at the inside the brackets, and then we have finished our testing condition, so we're going to end that with a semicolon. And then we need to tell Fantasy Grounds what happens if Bob's target is a giant. So let's suppose that Bob gets a bonus of 4 to his attacks against giants. Again, the targeting here must be on self because we're testing for Bob's target. We're not testing something on Bob himself. We're testing for something that's on his target. So we can apply this effect now. And then we can make an attack roll against, let's say, the Bone Devil. Nothing happens, we don't get any particular bonuses. But if we make an attack against the Ogre here, because the Ogre is of the giant type, then Bob's getting a +4 to his attack rolls. You can see that this is a large giant here. And clearly the devil and the dragon are not giants, and therefore we're not going to get any kind of bonus to that. Now, as I say, we can chain these types. So if, for example, we wanted to also test for dragon, then we can type that in there separated by a comma. So we are now testing for the type of giant or dragon. And if either of those conditions are true, then we will get an attack bonus of 4. So let's swap those effects out. And now if we, not damage, if we make a attack roll against the ogre, we're getting a +4. If we make one against the adult black dragon here, we're getting a +4. But if we make one against the bone devil, which is neither a dragon nor a giant, we don't get any bonus to our attack rolls. Okay, let's move on to the size conditional operator. We'll just add another line to here and get our dialog up. And again, we are going to be searching for the target. So if target and end with a colon. And this time we're looking for size. So size all in capital letters, and then open our brackets, and then we need to tell Fantasy Grounds what size that we want. Now we can have any of the sizes that are recognized by the 5th edition rule set, so small, medium, large, gargantuan, huge, etc. But we could also search for equal to, or equal to or greater than, or equal to or less than. So supposing we wanted to test to see whether or not the target was greater than or equal to, let's go back to your secondary school maths here. So greater than or equal to large, and then we close our brackets because this is our test done, and end with a semicolon. So what we're looking for here is any creature that has a size, or any target that has a size which is greater than or equal to large. And if that is the case, then we're going to give Bob an extra 2 points to his attack rolls. Again, the targeting has to be self because this effect is going to sit on Bob and is going to be his target that we're going to be testing to see whether this is the correct size or not. So let's apply the effect, and now Bob can make an attack roll here against the Bone Devil, and you can see that we have gotten a +2 to the bonus, and that would be because the Bone Devil is a large fiend. So therefore its size is equal to large, so therefore it's greater than large. And I have a feeling that I've picked the wrong one because I think these things are all going to be greater or equal to large. The dragons are huge, so we should still get the same bonus if we apply that to any of these beasties that I've picked. So let's change that slightly then, and we'll take out the greater than, and let's just change that to huge. So what we're looking for now is that if the target size equals huge, we're not saying it's greater than or less than, we're just saying that it equals huge. So let's swap these out, add this one in, and now when we attack the Bone Devil, we're not getting a +2 because the Bone Devil is simply large. It's not big enough. But if we attack the adult black dragon here, we are getting the +2 because the adult dragon is huge. So let's do something else just for fun, just to illustrate a point. Let's add in another effect here. And we're going to do our IFT again and end with a colon. We're going to have a look for type dragon, and then we're going to end with a semicolon. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to type in another conditional operator that we want to test for. So we are going to put in another IFT, another colon, and this time we're going to look for size, and we're going to look for something which is greater than large, and we're going to close that brackets. And then we're going to close that again, or we're going to end that with a semicolon, and then we're going to make a third test, and this time we're going to test for the alignment conditional operator. We open our brackets and let's test for evil, and then we're going to end that with a semicolon. And finally, we're going to say that if all of those things are true, then do an extra 1d8 damage. And again, we're going to have the targeting here to self. So what we're doing here is we're basically chaining the if special tags. We're really drilling this right down. We're looking for a dragon type. The dragon has to be large and the dragon has to be evil in order to get this extra 1d8 damage. And we can do this provided, so that basically Fantasy Grounds is going to look at this and say, well, if the type is dragon, if that's true, it'll then pass on to the next part. If the size is large and that's true, it'll then pass on to the third part. And if the alignment is evil, it will then pass on to the action that is required. But if any of the first three things are false, then nothing's going to happen. So let's apply this effect to Bob. And if we now we did damage, so let's try the Bone Devil. Nothing has happened. We didn't get any extra damage there. If we apply this to the Silver Dragon, again we get nothing. Obviously this is a dragon, and obviously it's huge, so it's bigger than large, but it's lawful good. So the alignment test failed. But when we finally land on the adult black dragon, which is huge, so it's bigger than large, it is evil, and it obviously is a dragon, then because all three conditions are true, then we get the extra d8 of damage. Okay, let's just look at a couple more very quickly. Let's look at the bloodied and wounded condition. So we're going to go back to if for this one. So if and we're going to let's say wounded. So if the Bob is wounded, if the actor in that this effect is sitting on is wounded, then let's give them a penalty to their attack rolls, attack -2. We're going to just keep this one to self. So we're going to apply this to Bob. Now currently Bob has no wounds, so if he makes an attack roll against the Bone Devil, then he's not going to suffer any penalties. But if we give Bob a wound, let's give him a point of wounds, and we'll do the same attack, and we can now see that he's got a -2 to his attack roll because the condition is true. So wounded tests to see whether or not the character on which the effect is sitting has got any wounds at all. It's got anything less than their maximum hit points. And if we swap this one out for Bloodied, we'll just keep everything else the same and just type in Bloodied, swap these out. Bloodied means that an actor must have less than half their hit points. So if Bob makes an attack against the Bone Devil again, he's not going to suffer any penalty because he's only got 1 hit point, so he's nowhere near his maximum. But if we give him 55 wounds, he's going to be less than half health. So we make an attack against the Bone Devil now, and we can see that he gets a -2 to his attack rolls because the condition is true. So this is quite a long video actually. A couple of other points to make is that these the bloodied conditions and conditional operators, etc., are not case sensitive. So bloodied could be all caps here. If we look at some of the other ones here, huge could be all caps as well. So it doesn't. It's not case sensitive. And remember that if is used when you're wanting to test the actor on which the effect is sitting, and if T, which is if target, is used if you want to test the target of the actor on which the effect is sitting. So I think that's it. As I say, a little bit longer than my normal videos, but they're quite powerful, quite involved, these ones. So thank you very much for watching this far, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers for now.